special series that we are conducting here on quantumplanet.world called A Timeline to Convergence. This is part 3 in this 6-part series where we are talking to luminaries who have been working with the universal time codes of the 1320 dream spell and indeed the Mayan original long count calendar as well. So far, right, Bella, we've been privileged to speak to the wonderful sister Basumi and the brothers Ruben and Makua. And today we're joined by another brother from South America, Anni34l Galactic Wizard, who is reporting live and direct from Brazil, but is actually originally from Argentina. So good day to you, brother. How are you?
Just fine and very honored to be sharing this moment with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Anibal. And I kept you in my radar for a while. I was introduced into the Galactic Mayan time, probably in around 2008, 2009. And since then, you try to follow as many people as you can and see what resonates with you. So you've been in my radar, and you're going to share a little bit about your story on how you connected to Jose Argüelles. You've been connected to Stephanie South, and you've been doing your own. I see it as laying the path for many of us that come now in this next wave to see what you guys have been building, what frequency have you been living in. And I see like many of us coming to a point of convergence as well. So it's not only a convergence of timelines, but also of consciousness, minds, and hearts. So I'm super excited to have you here.
Oh, that was a wonderful introduction. Thanks so much as well. I've been involved in this for half a life. I'm 54. And so I've been inside this time boot for 27, and I got inside very magically, like everybody, and synchronistically, but never expected to go as far as getting to interpret José Argüelles Balloon Votan in several times and participating in Peak Arcane the whole 7 weeks of that wonderful event. And now I have also the honor to accompany Stephanie South, the Red Queen, in her continuity of this lineage. And I feel honored, as well as all the other new people that came in are very attentive and are honoring us as the oldies as well. And that is very, very good, because for a long time of my life, I was the young one in the middle of all this. And now I began to be the oldie in the middle of the young, So I don't know what happened in the middle, probably my fatherhood and, my getting bold or whatever.
Well, you reach your 52 years, and you have to step into your mastery once you get there. And here's where you are, and you'll probably be guiding many more. So we're super happy to see and recognize so many of you as the pioneers of what we see, or at least I see, as the timeline, the golden timeline. You've all been experiencing that frequency, and now I see so many more people ready to jump on, and with so many events converging, from 3i Atlas to the convergence of timelines to what is happening in the political atmosphere, economic atmosphere. I see everything coming to that point, and we all need to know where we're going to jump into. So a few days ago, we were talking about, so what are we going to do when we get through the convergence point? And what came to me is that we all need to be focused with our imagination and our heart in that timeline so that we all jump into it. It has to be enough of us. And I think that many of the people that have been already working with the Hollow Mind Perceiver, with the 1320, with the 1328, are ready to do this process, even with the 13 sign astrology, because they're also connected to the right frequency of the sky and the stars. So shall we share the presentation so we can even talk over the pictures that you have?
Yeah, and also just to add in to the mix, we feel this is a period of collective elevation, and the one sort of long dreamt of abilities such as telepathy, we're now starting to experience, certainly within our community, not at a super sophisticated level, but we call it sending astral memos. In meditation, we send astral thoughts with clear intention to people. We all do this, and then sometimes we receive messages. And so it's interesting then to reflect back through a Zoom call, hey, did you send me a message about this? And so we can see that this is incoming as part of the elevation of consciousness, at least in this case for certain individuals, but we can see that through working with higher mind ideas and principles and energies, that we have been able to create a collective group intelligence, which I'm sure with your work with Jose and Lloydine and Stephanie, you've probably also experienced. And so I just want to add that into the mix because it feels like this is what is necessary from the collective.
Necessary. That's the
Yes,
whole point. You know,
necessary.
collective higher voice only works when a group cohesion is vivid, is
Yes.
experienced, you know. And that is why it's so important that all this media that is helping us to spread the word doesn't cut us off of the sharing with each other alive, you know, face to face, body to body.
Yeah.
Because in those encounters, we realized that we don't think, we are being thought.
Yes.
And that is why the synchronicistical events, when manifest in the third dimension, alive, change your life and change your behavior. Because otherwise, we just label this information and keep going with the life as if never happened, if nothing really deep happened.
Right.
And that is a problem because this is life-changing, people. So go into it, really. And it's collective. It's very important that that you both have spoken about how important is the collective, because we are not separated. We are all one.
And in fact, when we've been doing the journeys, a wave spell journey, we jump with a group. And once we immerse into a wave spell all together, we feel the unity consciousness. We feel everybody seeing the same, creating something for the highest good of all. So we've had enough experiences of jumping into it, which is amazing. It's amazing when you finish a wave spell as a group. You feel you are
Right.
Yeah, because there's something that I insist, there's no separation. And as my specialty is psychology, the part of psychology as a wizard is my main ability, then you realize that the mentation waves that are coming are no longer becoming possessed by anyone. Because in the middle of the void, in the middle of the silence, in the middle of your deepest meditation, we can check all the voices, all the meditation, all the mentation waves. And that is why I say we don't think, we are being thought. And that is why I say we need to stop thinking that the thinking process is masculine based. The thinking process is feminine, is listening, is receive. You know, and that is why telepathy is not something as much as to send a message to someone, but just to merge with the right mentation wave that two people are about to jump in, you know, and then bring it to coherence. And that is how it works, the radio. You know, the radio emits and receives, emits a very weak sign in 90 megahertz, and then a big sign jump in, touches, and then you are listening. And that is why it's so important, the silence.
Right, exactly. So with all of that in mind, we're tentatively calling this particular episode the synchronistic effect of universal time. And the brother is going to showcase from his live stories about how he reads the 1320 calendar through the synchronicities that you've already been sharing with us before we hit record, and how your life is directed by being in the flow with the synchronicities, which for anyone who's in our tribe or been following our channel for a while will know it sounds very much like our old friend Dandelion, who really, really works with us to bring us into the flow of synchronicities, which when you're paying attention is where the magic happens. So
absolutely,
yeah, let's bring up the presentation and you can talk us through this, brother. So let's go.
So I put the Weezer there because it's also the Jaguar energy, and I wanted you to talk from your experience. What is your expression in your life of a galactic Weezer? How do you live it? How do you interact with other people from your galactic signature as well?
My galactic signature is a tough one because it's the beginning of the count, because it is what Pakal Votan would have been if he would have been born 1 year later. You know, in the dream spell count, Pakal Votan is resonant moon. Next up in the vertical of time would be the galactic wizard.
Wow.
And also it's Steven Spielberg's kin. It's also Gabriela Mistral and Violeta Parra, big poets in Chile. And it's also Luca Prodan, an Argentinian Italian singer that changed the rock and roll music in Argentina. And so for me, it's been like a confirmation that I never care about what the others think about me, you know? And that was something like everybody got upset about. But then I couldn't change that, you know? It was like, listen, I don't know why, but I simply don't care what you think about me. You know, I only can do what I can do and behave as I can. And so that kind of leadership that the wizard have has always divided me into between people that love me and people that hate me. There's no middle term, you know. But you're never. Everybody's always paying attention to the wizard, you know, because it's 777, you know, and that 14 is the moment of the ovulation in the women period, you know, and that 14, the wizard, it's an energy that is so in love with being alive and in the present that simply don't care about nothing else. And then whatever other people may think about it, I can tune into, but then just let it go, you know. And that is why I guess Balloon Votan have chosen this archetype to name all his movement, because at some point we are supposed to become empty vessels and empty channels that would simply be aware and thankful on the now, and that would tune up our realities into a better and a better and a better one. Because, for example, in my experience, my life is many lives. I have a very rich life, not rich in money, but rich in experiences. I got a grant at 19 years old to study tourism in Spain. Then I begin learn surfing there. I begin learning languages there. And then when I came back to Argentina, I have a life in hotellery and tourism world. That was the thing I studied. But then when I was in the peak of my career, the Mayans came in through internet. I'm talking about 1998. And so the idea of Zuckerberg of Facebook, I call it nomades. And I had it first. You know, I'm not going to argue with him about that because he probably beat me. But the point is that I call nomades an address book that every traveler would made available through the nomad site to everyone who want to travel and visit friends.
Wow.
What is nowadays called couch surfing. And the difference with the Facebook was that for me, it wasn't virtual. It was for real. Then me and my brother jump in a bus, in a motorhome, very old, very nasty, and very humble and very beautiful. And then we've been chosen by different people all through America. And the main thing in all that trip was that whenever we change city or square or plaza or beach or mountain, the same kins that were related with us in the last stop would repeat in different bodies.
Wow.
And one thing is to suppose, but another thing is to confirm, you know, that you were supposed to be talking with King 69 and King 13 because they both add up to my grandfather, that is the one I miss the most. You know, and then you realize that everything is completely prepared for you to access it if you allow yourself to do not care about what the other think of you and go around the world as far away as you can. You know?
Beautiful. I love that. We definitely have that adventurous side on us. We spent some time in Mexico going around different pyramids and traveling between Mexico and the US. And one of the things that we did as part of our adventures was during the wave spell of the White Wizard, we called it the Path of the Jaguar. We went around many different sites, including Teotihuacan and Tula and Tajín. And we did the beginning of all of this that we're living, I feel, which was the repairing of time, the turning of the wheel to make sure that we came to this point of convergence. So to be even here talking to you, it feels like very much aligned with everything that we've been experiencing by saying yes to adventure and yes to new earth and yes to being galactic citizens and all of those things that we know is where we're going.
And you just said
Perfect.
something. Yeah, you just said something, brother, that I think is really, really important for all of us at this time, and that is that synchronicity is the openness for everything being completely prepared for us already, and whether we can get out of our own way, where we put the blockages to stop these kinds of connections happening. And I think what we've learned from
the ego barriers, the ego, the condensed so-called personality that is never the same anyway, because yesterday was today. And if tomorrow is not today again, you sue me, I'm dangerous. But tomorrow will be today again, and you've never been in a now situation. So time is much bigger than space. Yeah. And the kin is much bigger than the ego that is trying to represent it. So whenever we reach those levels of understanding, then we say, why would I try to be the same guy that I thought I was yesterday, since today I'm totally new? Today I can be totally better. I can expand myself instead of close myself. And that is why it's so important to understand that the time is cyclical, fractal, and it's in expansion. And it's not that King 34 defines Aníbal. Aníbal is one of the million ways to say 34, so you can understand it. Yes. And then you try to be me on my kin. So my application formula is that today is not you or me. Today we are all solar mirrors, And what do you know about solar mirror? You know people and you know facts. I got robbed in this very same kin few galactic spins ago. I got robbed $4,000. For me, it was a fortune. And at the same time, is my cousin, my dearest cousin, is 178, and many other details. So I combine people and facts and let my mind allow itself to get improved by today instead of pretending to be the same guy that I thought I was till yesterday.
I love it. Yeah. That's part of the conversation we've been having for the last few weeks, that every day you feel like you're still somebody new, that you're coming into your new self. And the parts of ourselves that we've been maybe working on, they seem to be disappearing. Those that are in a lower frequency or had some trauma that needed to be healed and released. It feels like we are definitely creating that new timeline and that new you. You can be a new you every single day. That feels exciting.
Yeah, and our audience will know this perhaps better than you, brother, but I had a very severe accident last year that was basically life-defining and death-defying in some ways. But as a Skywalker, I know that in the moment that it happened, I crossed the veil and came back. And it's really given me a lot of meditational sort of deeper insights since then of pondering, well, what's the difference between being dead or alive? And when we go to sleep, you go to sleep thinking
you don't know,
wake up still believing that, but did something happen in between? Like in the way that many of us have had accidents where we've walked away from it and gone, I'm not sure I should have lived through that. And I've wondered, well, maybe I didn't. Maybe my consciousness switched in and out, all of which can happen very easily when we go to sleep and wake up the next day. So absolutely, we can wake up every day.
Because maybe your consciousness is not yours. Maybe just consciousness. And then
that's where the next skywalking part of the meditation
every time you can. Yeah. For example, now I see the photograph of Balloon Bhutan and Sir Cochote Alberto Ruz together, and they both adapt to the same kin that my father and mother. My father and mother, 58 and 44, adapt to 102. And then when I got these two big masters in my life and realized that they are the same kin that my father and my mother together, then happens that I realized that this harmonic convergence you're talking about that will happen on October 14th will be in kin 204. That is 102 plus 102, you know?
Oh.
102 and 102 is 204. And in the same birthday of my dead friend, you know, that is the one that came with us in the buses and suddenly had a couple of years later had an accident in Chile, and he didn't came back like in your case, you know? He just went away, but he's listening to us from the other side.
Yeah.
So there's no death, really. It's just the body that goes. But all those consciousness are still there. We can convey them as much as we need them, you know?
Exactly. This is a really important point, and this was the point that my plant allies wished to impress on me is like, you know, did you die 4 years ago in that incident? Did you survive? What's the difference? What would be your fixed point of reference? And it was a disturbing journey for sure for a few hours, but it really got me into the mindset. Well, what's the difference of the transference of my consciousness? It's just a perception, whether I'm alive because I'm embodied or whether I'm in a disembodied state because I'm asleep or I've crossed the veil in the moment of something. And so it really got me thinking about where my consciousness actually resides and what is its true nature. Because as you've just been talking about in that process of meditation, I realized that I don't exist. I'm just a reflection of many other avatars that my consciousness as a soul is made up of, each one living its own life, unbeknownst to me until recently.
And here you touch a very important subject that is one of my most important concerns. That is try to explain to people why it is so important to change the calendar and understand that reality is not space-time, but time-space.
Time-space.
Because it's not here now, but now here-ness. Because yesterday was today, the whole day. Today will be today, the whole day. And tomorrow will be today again. So who's bigger? Time or space?
That's
Time
right.
is eternal, you know. Time is all there is.
Yeah.
We are time. We are embodied time for a little while. And here, as you name the going to sleep situation, comparing with the little dead, la petite morte, they say in French, is very deep because there's no space that is not attached to some time reference, but there's a lot of time that is not attached to any space reference, you know, because I sleep a lot as a wizard, as a cat, you know, as a jaguar. I sleep half a day, you know, I spend 12 hours in bed. Those 12 hours doesn't have any change in the space for me that I'm sleeping.
True.
But then all the others do, you know? So it's not the same space, the space that you are occupying with this space that I am occupying, but we're in the same now.
Yes.
So now it's bigger than space, you know? And so I have a song in English, you know, because suddenly I became an artist as well, and a singer and a poet. And it says, space but the shadow of time, walking by the beaches of consciousness. Space but the shadow of time, walking by the beaches of consciousness. Wow. We are living time, passing by on life. Don't you fool yourself. Don't you waste your mind. You know? And so we are information biology, says Balum Votan. So what are we? Just a momentary clutch of atoms that is going nowhere and then it's gone. So let's enjoy it at least.
Every moment of it, yes. Sarah, did you want to share anything about your interaction with these two wonderful people?
Yeah, for example, Balum Votan for me was life-changing because I wasn't a heathen. I was an archaic person. I was agnostic my whole life. because I saw many people talking about religion and said, if that is religion, I must be the opposite, because I saw pure hypocrites, you know. And so when I met Valum Votan in Pikarking, I went to him with my questioning, and he gave me all the answers. And he showed me a real man that was completely in awesome state with what he just discovered. He discovered the mathematics of time that makes us, any one of us, being able to prove that God exists, you know, and is with you right now. And on the other side, Alberto Ruz was the practicing of all that. He, at age like mine, 55, 56 years old, he jumped into a bus from Mexico and went to Ushuaia, and I had the chance to accompany him from Chile to Ushuaia. Wow. You know, to finish his trip. And he recognized that and thanked me that in public in Teotihuacan. And he was a noble Mexican, you know. He could have been the most sophisticated and distant and snob personage, but he was a real humble cosmic monkey that really enjoyed people more than status, you know. Yeah. And that for me, that I'm a poor guy, it's easy to be with the poor guys, you know. But for him, that could have been a rich snob MF, and he wasn't, you know. He was for sure one of the greatest men in the world, you know. And both together are up to my parents, and that's why I humbly devotee to them.
Amazing.
Beautiful story. Wow. And here you have other connections. You want to share any more anecdotes or stories?
Well, the moment that we jump in a bus, in a motorhome that barely may move, we made true and we made practice a dream that everybody has. We didn't know that everybody has it until we saw everybody knocking on our door and say, "Hey, what are you doing here? We were expecting you. Come in," you know. And they say, "And how do you live? You know, how do you survive?" We survive thanks to you, because we put the space and then you bring the food, because you're gonna know about the synchronicity. And that sharing instead of buying and selling was something mind-blowing, you know, because then for sure someone that was agnostic realized that becoming pure devotee was just one step ahead, one step far away, you know. And that step was to decide to try to prove that if God exists, he would provide for us somehow. Right. And she did, because for me, God is goddess. You know, we all came out inside from a woman. So there's no God, womb. You know, like a guy. It's the cosmic womb. And you see the oval is huge beside the sperm, you know, and Cosmic Skywalker and me, we produce thousands or millions of sperm by day, but you only mature 13 ovals a year. Exactly. So where's the equality there? You're bigger. You know, God is goddess. You know, it's infinite space, much more time than matter. You know, it's much more mystery than facts.
Mm-hmm. And it's creation itself, is the frequency of creation. I also feel is very feminine, motherly like, just like the
I was born March the 8th, you know, by the way, just to do not forget it, the International Women's Day, and I have a wonderful mother. So that is something that also approached me to try to say to all these new kids that are studying this, study the feminine, you know, become feminine in your mind, become meditating all the time, you know, like Dzogchen, all the time aware, all the time thankful, all the time now.
Beautiful. I love that. And part of what our mission with the channel we have and what we've been doing is to bring the feminine that was removed from the calendar, from the stars. We need to bring back the 13 energy into the ecliptic, the zodiac that we follow the stars, but also not every day.
And that is why it's so important that Valum Votan gave the continuity of his lineage to a younger lady, and he did that in the same moment that you are showing those photographs of me and him together, in Italy, in the Synchronotron experience, the only Synchronotron experience. I participated there, and it was there that he passed the microphone to Stephanie South, Red Queen. And there's been many arguments and many talkings about that, But all those projections of egotistical behavior of ancient times has nothing to do with a galactic mission, that he knew that if he would simply handle up to Bolonique, we wouldn't have a leader now. Mm-hmm. And he knew that he need to sacrifice those marriage archetypes into something that allows us to have a continuity that goes to the feminine, to the receptiveness, not to the women as well, to the feminine, because there's many women today that are fighting in their feminism like men, and that is completely distorted for my opinion, We need all to become more feminine, more receptive, not necessarily women. Mm-hmm. If you know the difference,
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
true
I
that,
agree.
brother. So, yeah, you want to tell us a bit more about these photos, brother, and why?
Well, that was in the last big event in Palenque and in Teotihuacan in 2019, in the year of the Magnetic Wizard. That is this guy here, an Argentinian rock and roller, Indio Solari. He's Magnetic Wizard. And in that year was the last big encounter we have with 500 people, because later we got locked up, They didn't even need to use their prisons. We were imprisoned at home. And it was crazy because after that event, I went to China. I went to teach this, like Basumi, into Hong Kong, Taipei, and Shenzhen in China. And it was the only time in my life that I really came back with some money from my teachings. It's been always wasting and wasting and wasting. And since I came back from China on that very same year, then we got locked in, and I was already in my field here in the Crest Ben Ur Center that I'm building in 14 hectares that you are all invited to come and visit and help me build, please, because we need some other one than me. I'm a pretty tough guy, but I cannot do it all by myself. So we got locked into our field there, into our Crest Ben Ur, and nothing really changed for us. I had to use that thing in the half an hour I needed to go and buy some groceries. But then I realized that continuity is not in big cities. And Valun Votan told me, literally, big cities are living fossils.
Yeah.
Get away, do whatever you can, but go back to nature. Go back as far away as you can from all the people that don't want to change. Mm-hmm. Because if we, the ones who really do want to change, get together in small groups away, then we are a living, real example. Otherwise it's just chattering.
I love it. That's pretty much what I was shown a few months ago, like the network connecting, the network of all of these people that have been pioneering a different way of living, putting art as part of, this is what my heart wants to do. I want to be living and creating all the time. So I do see us connecting with many groups like yours and Basumis and people that are doing even sidereal, that are living in eco villages, that have been paving the way to a new
way. It's difficult, but who likes it easy? It's really difficult, but who likes it easy? Nobody of us likes it easy, And so if it is difficult, go and embrace the difficulties, beat them, and let's see the collective, let's see the gardens, let's see the communities. I put it with an S, so it's not something merely that can be criticized as political tendency, you know. This is not political. This is cosmunism, you know, with an S. And the S is letter 19 because cosmos is a fact. You know, you can see that the galaxies are very big and very bright and very distant one from the other. But then you take a wider view and you see that there are just 2 or 3 or 10 million galaxies, but they are all together in the same cosmos. So the cosmos is a fact. The cosmunities are a fact. And let's build them in our reciprocity, you know, in our way of like the other's ego, you know, because I need to love your ego because today you are more beautiful than yesterday, you know, because you are one day more in life, you know, and suddenly this will end. And all this will be one day say, hey, remember the Galactic Wizard there? He's no longer there, but we have the videos. So it's all about memory, you see? It's all about memory.
Hey,
memory controls behavior, you know?
Memory controls behavior, yeah.
And behavior attracts reality. So it's all about memory, you know? That's why I have this big head.
And you know what, on this point, so sorry, just to jump in, you know, we've been looking at the fact that our bodies are made up of so much water with our tribe.
Water, yeah, that's
and
the
water
whole
contains memory.
point.
Water contains the memory of our soul from our previous incarnations. And if that water is contaminated, like most of us have been poisoned and polluted, that means that our memories are also poisoned and polluted. So we can't even necessarily trust our memories to be accurate, particularly if you factor in things like interference from.
And you touch a very,
and-
very deep point here, because you're speaking about memory and water. And the whole thing about the law of time is that it's harder to get agree about the past than to get agree about the future. You and me can argue the whole of the rest of our lives about what did I say 5 minutes ago. But you and me can get together and say, hey, let's close this ceremony, and then we get agree. So present comes from future, not from past. You know, the present comes from future, not from past. Past is gone. It's a cancel check. Forget it. Or remember it so you access a better future.
Well, here's just a simple example of this that I've often used, but it's worth reiterating. Is if there was a simple car accident on the street and the authorities took witness statements from 3 people, each one from their own personality giving the statement.
Never get agree.
Truthfully, you're going to get 3 different accidents. So which one is the truth? They're all true.
Because it's selective. Memory is selective. You know, your memory is different than mine. How can we get agree on the past? There's people killing people about the past.
Exactly.
And we're living our reality. My reality is completely different to everybody else's reality. So how are you going to combine so many realities? Unless you reach the frequency on which there is no need for talking or giving stories or beliefs or programs, but actually connecting on a higher mind, which is the
silence is the best drug. I tried them all. I tried them all. Didn't get hooked with none, but silence is my drug.
Beautiful.
You were going to say something. I jumped in. What were you going to share?
Yeah, no, I wanted to ask you just to start wrapping up the conversation. What do you see for this point of convergence in October?
Yeah.
Probably more and more people getting interested, you know, because for me it was so clear that this is a huge event, and these synchronicities and these convergences are the vectorial points of time that get massive attention, and then people realize that they got changed. And whenever you see that you got changed, then you want more. You know, you try a sacred plant and get a beautiful vision, and then you want more, you know, because you feel better. So the better you become is the more synchronistically you become. And this harmonic convergence that is coming soon is going to be mind-blowing for all of us. For sure.
And you know what's really interesting is that along with the mathematics of the golden convergence that's coming in on the 14th and 15th of October, we're suddenly being encouraged, invited even to spend more time actually looking at the sky and observing what is going on around us in the universe, which might sound obvious, but now that there's more information coming out about the sun, about asteroids, about comets, about there being a 13-sign constellational astrology, which is not the same as the Western tropical, the fact that there might be a different way of measuring time as opposed to the 1260. These are all reality-shattering shifts, right? But, you know, even just today, one of our colleagues who does a space weather report channel was sharing that there's a comet that is on its closest flyby with the sun today. Which might have some sort of energetic effect. And that's not even before we get to the two different atlases, the Swan Comet, the Stereo Comet, all of which...
Now I understand why we got together.
Right. You know, and it's made me...
We are that comet.
Right, exactly. It made me wonder. It's like, I wonder if this is just something that's been going on all the time with this melange of comets and objects flying by all quite close. And only now are we seeing it because we're looking at it more closely, or are we in a unique set of events? And I think either way, the point is that we are now seeing things because we're looking in places
Absolutely agree.
before.
You know, if you ask, you get the answer. You know, if you don't ask because you're so satisfied with everything, then you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and no satisfaction. I can get no satisfaction.
Right.
So go for it, you know, because it took you too long. There's a very famous saying in Brazil that is demorou. Demorar means to take long, you know. So they say they are so fast here that the most common saying of them is demorou, like you realize something and the other no, because demorou. So it took you too long, you know. So let's wake up and face the future. You know, it's much better than the past.
You also said something else, brother, that I think is worth just repeating as we come to the close today, which is that through your galactic tone and kin is that you sort of have the persona of, I don't really care what you think about me, what I'm saying, what I'm doing. And the truth is also the same for you. I don't really care in the particular moment what you do. I care about you as another aspect of me. But anything that you do is coming, in your case, through the filter of being another aspect of me. And I think that that's a really interesting point just to reiterate in these days, including where we are right now, of division and polarization. And as we come into the final 48 hours of this lunar Scorpion moon of challenge, we can feel that that energy has been projected strongly into the mind space to create division, to create suspicion, all of these things. And, you know, I think the attitude you have of you know, it's like I care about you as a being, but I don't care about the projections that you're giving me right now because they're
because
not...
it doesn't change me, you know. In Lakesh, I'm
Exactly.
another yourself, not the same one. You know,
Yeah.
I'm another yourself, not the same one. I respect yourself, you respect myself, and then we get together to create a bigger self if we can, you know. But it's so ridiculous to try to convince the other. You know, it's a waste of time. It's completely upside down. It's the last sequels of the space-time perception, where everybody needs to dress equally and everybody needs to look equally, because if not, we're gonna realize that we are not happy. Oh, wake up, you know. Let's understand that happiness is an individual presence aspect. I cannot be happy for you, you know. It's impossible. You know? I cannot convince you of anything. Let's be freedom at last.
Right. And also the way that you express that and by the sound of it, live it, it gives us the opportunity not to have to edit or filter how we appear in the world to other people to keep them happy. And that, I think, is one of the most beautifully profound, powerful things that's happened to me since I've embraced my cosmic Skywalker essence, because I was always that, but I unconsciously, before I knew this information, edited it out of my interactions with other people because I didn't think that they would appreciate my far out intuitions about things. And when I did test the ground, invariably they didn't like it. So I kind of closed that part of myself off and kept it to myself until I met Bella, and she kind of invited me to accept my true self and live it. So I kind of have been released from knowing my glyphs. So
wonderful. So happy for you, my brother.
The way we connected, it was through following the wave spell of his galactic birthday. And I went to Mexico where he went. And on the day of his galactic birthday, we went up on a statue. And as we were on top of that statue, like really high in the middle of an island, the storm comes and the wind.
Beautiful confirmation.
And activation.
Even more beautiful having the kin number 13. So not only just heaven to earth, but really in full-blooded service to the goddess. At the top of this statue, in this tiny little room, which you could hardly perceive, was an altar to the goddess. And we were like, oh my gosh.
Goddess and a 5-star.
Wonderful.
5 pointers. I mean, it was magic from beginning to end.
So with, to bring the conversation back to where we started, it was that kind of synchronicity when I entered into the realm of the dream spell and the 1320 calendar, that as a skywalker, unbeknownst to me, was mind-blowing, because I love containers and space and flowing through journeys, and having come from a shamanic background, it just clicked instantly. I was like, oh my God, since I've met you, this happened, this happened, this happened, and now this, all of which is mind-blowing. And I'm interested in what more there is. And I think what you've beautifully shown here, brother, is that once we accept the invitation from the cosmos to step into the flow, you start living not with the odd exception of synchronicity, but that actually being the norm.
Normalized. What we used to call enlightenment is nothing but the normalization of synchronic experience.
Yes.
And that's a deep one.
Yeah. Wow. So thank you so much, Anibal. It's been so cool talking to you. Yeah. And what is your message now before we wrap up? Anything you want to share from the Galactic?
Stay in the now, because all your after will go through this now.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So stay in the now. There's nothing but nowness, and it's not here now, it's now here-ness.
Yeah. Now and keep it empty. So
keep it empty, keep it empty and keep it up. Thanks so much.
Keep it real.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Love you so much.
So
thank you
before we round off, brother, where can people find out about your work if they want to meet with you or come down to your blog to help you?
Instagram @Mago Galactico, both with K, because K is letter 11 and 1111 is Balloon Votan. So Mago Galactico. I'll write it down for you. Mago Galactico Instagram, and Aníbal Lisandro Luporini of Galuk in Facebook, and 55 49 999 099020. Okay. Those are my numbers. I'll write it all down.
We'll put those in the show notes so that people can find you. And of course, the brothers put out the invitation for help building his center. So for those of you,
please come visit. Please, we'll have fun.
To the jungle life, the brother is waiting for you in Brazil. So thank you so much. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.